to our Monster Authors Night for tribute. Please welcome Jen, Andrew Henderson, and Megan Badger. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi. And if anyone's watching, please make sure you jot down where you're watching from, and any questions or comments, I'll bring them up throughout the night. And yeah, now we did have Jem McCusker also scheduled for tonight. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it live, but me and Jem sat down earlier and we've got it all recorded. So what I'm going to do first is let you guys see that interview, and then we'll come back with you shortly.
Love it.
Hey everyone, so please welcome Jem McCusker. Thank you so much for joining us, Jem. I know that
thanks for having me.
No worries. I know that you can't make the live, so I really appreciate that you've taken the time to be able to do this for everyone beforehand. So Jem has very lovingly taken the baton for the Springfield Writers Group from Aiki and has been working tirelessly in keeping us going and keeping us together, and it's been amazing. So thank you for that, Jem.
Thanks, Neen. It doesn't happen alone.
Pardon?
It's a group. It doesn't happen alone. It's a group. Everyone comes together. An
amazing group. And Jem has a story in one of our monsters.
Yeah, monsters, yes. Funnily enough. Surprising to me.
And what's your story called? Sorry?
So my story is called Half Truths, and it's based on the fact that sometimes all a lie needs to be believed is just a seed of truth, not the whole truth, but just a little smidgen of the truth in order for someone to believe it.
Wow. And where did that idea come from?
Well, in the previous Springfield Writers Group anthology that we've done, I did a story called Two Truths, where I had a two female protagonists, mother and daughter combination, and each had their own version of the truth. And it was which version was the reader going to believe and what was actually the truth. And sort of these are completely different characters, completely unlinked, and I'd said it sort of like in the deep south of America where the characters had these sorts of drawls, and sort of thought I'm really not going to get to revisit that sort of area and that sort of style of voice again. And I thought maybe that's just what I do for the Springfield Writers Group anthologies is, I set it in that sort of area and I work around that theory of mind in relation to the truth, your truth, someone else's truth, what the actual truth is, where you're sitting on a particular side of the fence, and ultimately at the end of the day, what the reader chooses to believe.
Oh, I like that. I love that just psychological twist into ideas and human nature, and I can't wait to read it.
I think that's what horror is at the end of the day. Sometimes people, I think it's monsters lurking under the bed, and by all means that is horror. But for me, when I think of horror, I think of horrific times, horrific events, and things that send a shiver down your spine. To me, that's horror. And I think that's what's great about writing is that everyone interprets it and reads it differently. Suppose you could say everyone's got their own version of truth in relation to what defines horror.
Absolutely. That's brilliant. Oh, I'm so excited about it. I didn't actually realize it was in the same world as the previous story. So that really excites me because I really enjoyed that one too. And that was in Rogue's Gallery, was it?
Yeah.
First one. There you go. In this one, that's the first one.
My version's a little blurred, but yeah.
Yeah. That's fantastic. All right. Now, you were very close with Aiki. I was just wondering, do you have a favorite memory or piece of advice that she gave you during your...
I think over the time, there was a lot of advice that Aiki gave to people along the way. But I think for me, in terms of advice, she did a manuscript assessment for me on a middle grade fiction piece I'd wrote. And it was just the way in which she broke it down. No muss, no fuss. It wasn't a slice of buttered bread. It was just a piece of bread. And this is it. This is what you've got to work with, and sort of, work with it in that respect. But it was good because it geared me for the fact that, no, my work isn't perfect. No, my work can improve. But it was structured and detailed, and it taught me things. And these are mistakes that I haven't made twice. Every little bit that she gave. And she called me and she said, I'm just about to send you an email. And I went, oh, okay. And she goes, are you at work, like in a public place? And I said, yeah. And she goes, well, maybe don't read it at work. No one wants to be seen crying at work. And I went, oh, is it that bad? And she goes, oh, no, I just don't know how you take feedback. And like my personality is like, oh, I'm sorry, I will be looking at this immediately. You know, and I did. And you know what, in fairness, like no tears, no nothing. Everything she did was constructive and it related to story structure and character arc. And, you know, it was a really good learning curve for me. And, you know, and I'm glad I learned it then and not 5 years down the track, because that's a lot of wasted words.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's fantastic. And what are you working on now, Jem?
So I'm working on a couple of things at the moment. I have got Stormbringer, which is a fantasy romance, which I've actually had a request for a full manuscript from an agent for, which is really exciting. But
That's
just before
huge.
I send that
Congratulations.
off. Oh, thanks. Yeah. So that's exciting, but I just am making a few changes to that. And I'm also working on my rural romance at the moment, which is, you know, based in country Australia, centered around two Australian musicians. And one of the reasons I can't actually be at the live tonight is because I'm at a guitar lesson, because I love music. And so I'm really excited that I can be putting two of my loves together. But ultimately, I love to write romance. And, you know, both of these stories, while slightly different genres, they're romance people, you know.
That's so fantastic. I love that. Now, where's the best place for readers to keep up with where you're at with your writing?
Yeah, so I am on social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram as Jem McCusker Author, and on Twitter as Jem Mac Author. And I have a website, www.jemmccusker.com. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm a little bit hit and miss and intermittent on my social postings, but I do also host an online book series called Bookworm TV, where we play live round of Pictionary with Australian authors. So that's where I can be found.
Excellent. I will make sure that I get those links and stuff up as well. So it'll be in the comments for you guys. So I'll make sure that I put them up so that anyone who's interested can, follow along with Jem.
Thanks, Neen.
No worries, Del. Now, Jem has been very kindly offered to do a short snippet of a reading from her story, One Truth?
Half Truths.
Half Truth. I was nearly there.
It's okay, we had two truths.
Two truths.
But I've skipped the one and gone straight to half.
Excellent. No worries.
Not maths. Okay, so yeah, this is actually just from the very opening chapter. Here we go. Peace could be found in the most unlikely of places if one found enough courage to claim it. My daddy found peace in the darkest corners of his mind. Its protective shell, cocooned with half-truths, made living achievable, not to be confused with enjoyable. Enjoyment and its neighbouring emotions, contentment, happiness and hope, became off limits to the likes of him. The only man worth having is a broken one, my stepmama used to say. I can't deny when I was young, this confused me, but I came around to understand in her way of thinking. At one time, my daddy would have flown me to the moon and back using sheer willpower alone. But with time and a good breaking in, Mama made him durable to the servicing of her purposes, namely keeping her in the lifestyle to which she'd become accustomed. This also involved making sure I was attributed no more importance than you'd give to shit on your shoe.
Whoa. Wow, thank you. Wow. No, just keep reading. Just keep going.
Okay. Really should have like this really deep southern drawl, but I just thought that would cheapen the exercise if I attempted to do that. So sorry, everybody.
No, that was fantastic. That absolutely hooked me. I want to read more. I can't wait. That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Jem, and thank you for taking the time. Good luck at your guitar lesson.
Thanks. In the future. And thanks so much for hosting, Neen. Everyone get along, get your copy of Tribute. And I'm so excited to be involved in a project with so many fabulous authors, yourself included, Neen.
Oh, thank you, Jem. Thanks. There we go. Welcome back. So that was Jem. We've got a few people joining us at the moment. We have Carrie. Hey, Carrie. And Alicia. Thanks, guys, for joining in and dropping down a comment for us. All right, now, time to get in with Jen and Megan for the questions. All right, so let's see what we have here. All right, let's go with the first one. All right, Jan, can you just tell us the name of your story that is in tribute and give us just a brief synopsis of it?
I shall. I'll try and get myself into the middle of the screen first, though.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky, isn't it?
I'll decide. There we go. Here we go again. My story is called A Monster Circles the Wreckage. And I forgot the second part of what you asked me because I was trying to adjust my seats.
Let's do the elevator pitch. Well, a synopsis. Either way.
Okay, yes, it's about a serial killer who has taken a journalist down into a wreck under the sea to show them where he has hidden the bodies of all the women he's murdered. Unfortunately, halfway down, the journalist has an encounter with a great white.
I love it. Oh, I believe I've actually read this one of yours.
I think you have, actually.
I have. That's brilliant. We also have Jacinta here saying congrats on the anthology, which I forgot until now. Anyone watching here is where you can actually go to purchase the anthology. Please go, join, run. It comes out in 3 days, I believe. I have no idea what the date is.
Anyway. No, it comes out on the 15th officially, but you can buy it now.
So in 2 days. Brilliant. Yeah. Okay, Megan, up to you, darling. What is the story of your monsters?
So the story is called Heed the Piper, and it's a retelling of the Pied Piper fairy tale with a magical twist. So it's, I guess, magic versus religion and the conflict that arises through that. And I guess discerning where the root of true evil lies, whether it's the devils, the monsters, or the humans.
Ooh. Oh, I love fractured fairy tales. That sounds fantastic. Oh, I love it. Alicia has... Yep, for Jen. Remind me to never go diving with you. Yep. Not a good idea, guys. He's terrifying.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, Alicia, I have collected quite a number of those little Lego things you were looking for, by the way.
Oh, me too.
Nothing to do with anything, but I got them.
Just for context for anybody who's watching, Alicia and her partner are building a zombie apocalypse Woolworths from the little Lego that you can get when you spend money at the supermarket. And her friends have been gathering together so that we can have an endless an endless supermarket full of zombies for her.
I love it. Yes, I agree, Sinner. That's awesome. And a little bit hilarious. Yes, absolutely. All right, now that we've put ourselves out just on the synopses of these stories, where did these stories come from? Whoever wants to go first. Where did the idea come from?
Well, for me, I'm a huge nerd and I'm a huge fan of Supernatural. And I love the way that they take those folklore tropes and adapt them. Bye, Jan. Take the folklore tropes and adapt them and mix them together in a big mixing pot. And when I reread the Pied Piper story after years and years and years, a couple of things struck me. There was the fact that in a lot of folklore, water can be seen as a place where portals can emerge, that silver has a way of being offensive to the fae creatures.
Yeah.
And also the fact that it just seemed like there could be a possibility that the children that get spirited away by the piper could possibly be changelings. So I brought all of these different mixed up tropes and turned it into more of a mixture of magic as opposed to the original fairy tale.
Oh, that sounds so... Oh, I can't wait. I've got to go and actually sit down and read these all. I'm so excited. And Jan, did you go on a really dangerous scuba diving trip at some point?
I've never scuba dove in my life, to be honest. I snorkeled once, but no, the whole psychology of evil, not evil, no, the psychology of people fascinates me. And one of the things that fascinates me are those who have no real morals, or rather they have their own set of morals. And I write about sociopaths frequently because it's just, for me, a great shorthand for talking about what the moralistic rules are or are not, and whether there's objective or objective, and everything that's wrapped up in that. I just find that whole thing fascinating. Plus, I had a girlfriend once who said, "You are a psychopath," without the slightest. I was like, "No," she's like, "Yeah." And I've been fascinated ever since by the whole idea. She's like, you're not a terrible person, but you don't have any emotions.
Wow. That's got to be a charming compliment.
I killed her. No, I mean, no, but that's the whole thing about, how some people feel very deeply about things, some people don't. Some people are horrible inside but never act on it.
Yeah.
Which to me makes them a good person. Mm-hmm. And I used to know somebody who loved everybody. I mean, just loved everybody. And I was like, well, if you love everybody the same, then there's nothing to do, your love doesn't mean anything. So all these things interest me. People have too much love and don't differentiate between those who might deserve it or have earned it. Or those who don't feel at all, no matter what other people do for them. I find it all fascinating. And so basically the story is about this serial killer trying to justify himself to this interviewer. And does he manage? You'll see.
I love it. We have had a whole bunch of comments come through. Where are we? Oh, yep. First, we'll go back to the Lego. Going to need photos of this. So, Alicia, there we go.
It's going to be all about the apocalyptic supermarket now, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Hell with the books.
Hey, Clancy, welcome. Yep, been collecting them. Now she wants to build them. Also, okay, now actually to the story. That sounds amazing, Megan. And Alicia read yours today, and she's going to have nightmares. That's a good sign. And yes, takes on a new meaning of writing what you know. Jan, you're terrifying people. I love it. And yes, this is a very revealing interview. Yeah, it is, isn't it? This is fabulous. Frankie, Jan, that's fascinating. I'm intrigued. So yeah. It's certainly got everyone interested, which is great. I'm just going to pop up again, just where you can get tribute from, because you can get it now. It officially comes out in 2 days. And all right, now this tribute was actually brought together. It has been edited by the incredible Jan Andrew. I did this last week too. I'd like to blend your last name. Sorry. And this is actually, the reason it's tribute is our leader, our fearless leader, Aiki Flinthart, actually passed away from cancer in January. And this was our group's way of promising her we would keep going. And this is a tribute to her. That's why we have all the different genres in here. We're showing our strengths and our willingness to not give up the fight.
So I was just going to ask both of you if you have a favorite memory or favorite piece of advice from Aiki.
Megan?
Tag, you're it.
Jan?
Right. Advice. Actually, I met Ajon not long before she died. Me and her went and had a cup of coffee. And that was the first time I had been on my own with her since, for months and months and months and months, long before she had the diagnosis. And I don't want to be rude, but it was a personal conversation. But it was incredibly important to me, and I'd never heard her talk like that before. And yet, the entire time, she did not complain once. You know, she only had a couple of weeks left to live. Didn't complain once. And I thought that was incredible.
That sums her up so beautifully. And absolutely no worries. Personal conversations, you keep them precious, Jan. And that just sums her up so beautifully. Megan.
So Ajon and I used to go and get cups of tea and scones at this little cafe near a greenhouse, which is now closed, which is really sad. It closed around about a few months before she passed, which was not great. But we used to sit and brainstorm plot weasels, trying to tease out all of those areas where the plot just wasn't working or the characters weren't being authentic to the story, and talked writing. And I think probably the best piece of advice she ever gave me is when I did my writing degree, I had a teacher who gave me some really hurtful feedback on a story. It didn't seem like it was, it didn't seem like a critique. It seemed more like an insult. And I was really upset about it. And Ajon basically pulled me back from that cliff edge and said, don't let anybody convince you not to write. And I'm glad that she gave me that advice because it's one of my absolute favorite things to do.
Yes, I love that. And she was always very encouraging in everyone's endeavors, and it was
encouraging, but she also taught people in a way that, so when she gave a critique, she didn't just give the critique and then expect you to flounder and find out the answers for yourself. She would give a critique, but then also teach you how to work through it, but not tell you what to do. Though it was just, she always walked that fine line between giving you that independence to grow to the next stage of your writing while also having the tools that you needed that she provided, which was incredible.
She was, absolutely. And it's just amazing. Yes, absolutely.
I couldn't remember anything about advice, but I do remember one thing, and that's I'd submitted a short story for her to the Relics and Wrecks anthology she was doing, and she sent it back and said, "Oh, it's too good."
that's this anthology.
She's like,
that was her last
it's too good. It's too good for us. Can you write another one? And I was like, yeah, thank you, Sean. I will. She knew what she meant. I knew what she meant.
Yeah.
So I wrote another one.
Oh, she's fabulous. Oh, that was beautiful. Where are we? Yes. I believe Carrie was talking about this from what you were talking, Jan, about Ajon not complaining once, and she was an amazing human being, absolutely incredible.
Yes.
Now, so what are you both working on at the moment, Megan? Let's start with you this time.
I'll go first because mine's short and sweet. So I'm currently working on a novel. It's young adult about a group of teenagers that have been genetically engineered and raised in Antarctica, specifically for a mission to terraform and inhabit Europa, which is one of the moons of Jupiter. And so the novel starts with them setting out on their mission.
That sounds amazing.
Also, it was a whole big illegal thing. So, you know, after they get launched into space, you find out that there was actually an international situation that they left behind that they have to read about on social media.
Where else would you read it, honestly?
Yeah.
Yep, that sounds great.
And yeah, I'm also working on my master's thesis, which is again about folklore, but it's about the loss of the mundane details that were taken out in translation. So things like why Red Riding Hood's hood was red, what the significance of clothing, what the significance of the food things that they would eat. Taking that from cultural areas of where the story passed through geologically, and weaving those details back into folklore.
That sounds fantastic. Excellent. Oh, I can't wait to hear more about all this. Jen,
Thank you.
What are you working on at the moment?
I've been busy, actually. Very quickly, I've got 2 books out this month. One, this is out. Edinburgh's Underground City. I've got my Royal Mile adventure. I have a romance novel called Afton House with Simon and Schuster. They're reading it to see if they want it at the moment. And I've almost finished my novella called Harlan McFarlane, Private Dick, Public Menace. You'll like this. He's a detective who looks like a boy. It's great. But he's not. He's actually a con man. Anyway, I was approached by Collins to submit some twisted fairy tales for them for books that they're bringing out. So I thought about stealing yours, Megan. But I got one about based on The Ugly Duckling, which is a potted history of Israel, as well as being that, and one about the Three Billigots Gruff, but it's like a prequel. You never see the prequel. It's about the troll who lives under the bridge.
That is excellent.
He's a good guy. So
absolutely.
But yeah, busy. Very busy.
Yeah. All right. So we have some love for you, Meeks.
Thanks, Frankie.
And Alicia is now imagining being a genetically engineered moon explorer, but only finding out about it on TikTok. That's brilliant.
Pretty accurate.
I love your story idea, Megan. Sounds fantastic. And yep, I agree, Carrie. Your brain is very hard to keep up with, Jen. You've got so many things going. It's amazing. Love it, Jen. Sounds epic. Absolutely. Y'all are brilliant. I'm just going to sit here and just bask in your glow. No, not really. Well, I will, but, I should probably keep things moving. So, I'm just going to... So, where am I?
So, for those who don't know, our wonderful host, Neen, is also an author and is extraordinary. There you go.
Anyway,
so we can bask right in your glory back.
ColdAsHell. You can read a bit if you want.
Oh, it's on my bedside table, not on my shelf, so I can't grab it handily.
Oh, it's not in reach here either. My bad. Whoops. So would either of you like to read a small part of your story from Tribute?
I can, if people are interested.
Absolutely. I'm speaking. I am people.
So this is the beginning of Heed the Piper.
All right, hang on. I'm just going to kick me and Jan out so you can read, just holler at us when you're ready to come back in.
Okay, you betcha. The shadow slipped through the house. It didn't hold any shape for long, but shifted and reformed like a cat, a pig, a dog, a snake, a rat. It floated above the dirt floor and drifted to the cot where I and my brothers and sisters slept. I lay stiff as a board while it hung over me. It smelt of smoke and snow and something else I couldn't place. I watched its pointed nose quiver and turn away from me. It moved to my brother and repeated the action, but this time its head moved back and a horrifying grin cracked its face. The shadow formed into a figure crouching on Enolf's chest. Teeth closed on his throat almost tenderly, and the smoke of its tail drifted in tendrils into his mouth and nose. Enolf tossed in his sleep and his brows furrowed. But he didn't wake. All night, the shadows fed on my siblings, one after the other. Then in the grey light of twilight dawn, it slunk to hide in the darkest corner of the room. My kin all bore the mark of the bite, 2 small pierced holes on neck, shoulder, face. My mother shook them and asked what was wrong. I tapped her shoulder and made the sign for rat. I didn't know how to describe what I'd seen. Mother put down black hellebore with barley meal and burned the seeds of oregano, celery, and love in a mist as incense. It made our eyes water but did nothing against the shadows. More of them came rolling mist through the valley. They feasted at night. The town children, always pale, grew grey and weak. The marks spread in a pattern of double spot scars like pox. Baldwin was loath to let me and Everald out of his sight. We sat together using hand taps to talk. Everald had heard his sister moan and grumble in her sleep, a quiet sucking sound as soft as the wind through spring leaves, but horrible instead of beautiful. Baldwin had tried to beat the creature with his cane. He cut the smoke in half, but it reformed and snarled at him. The shadows fought over the children, bared their teeth and swirled around each other, sometimes knocking over a lamp or candle. My father called a town meeting. The rat traps remained empty. The children were wasting away. He sent missives to the monastic island of Rakanu, begging for help. All medicinal and herbal treatments have failed, and we can only assume that the devil is responsible. He made the messenger repeat the phrases back 3 times before sending him on his way. All adults were ordered to work the farms. Every hand was needed. We have to come together as a community, he said, his lips in a hard line as I watched the words form. No baking, home kicking, weaving or brewing. No hunting, butchering or leather working. If we don't pull together now, we will starve come winter. The townsfolk's shoulders were rigid under the weight of his orders. Father sent missives to town as far-reaching as Augsburg, Regensburg, Trier and Cologne, requesting aid and supplies. He raised the taxes. That spring I watched as the added responsibility slowly bent his body. Every day the adults worked the farms, and each night they went to church and prayed. And we waited. Bom, bom, bom. All right, Neen, you can come back.
That was brilliant. Well done.
Thank you.
Now I think we're all in different orders, but that's fine. I had a little camera technical difficulty, i.e. my camera just died. So I've just had to quickly fix it up. Anyway, there we go. That was brilliant. Jen, would you like to do a reading? No pressure.
No, but I will. It's
Thank
quite
you,
dark.
Jen.
All
It's
right,
quite dark in here, actually. But
I will kick me and Megan out, and just let me know when you are ready for me to come back.
Okay, fantastic. Before I start, I just wanted to point out that this is a character saying things, and if he may say things that are offensive, that is not my position. It's not how I feel about things. It's how this character feels about things. He's called Miles. You know, there are 2 types of criminals. Miles Harrison was seated in the captain's chair. The oxygen tank strapped to his back meant he had to perch on the edge. Some think their biggest mistake was getting caught. Others believe it was getting born. He glanced at Stuart. "Aren't you going to take notes?" "Ah, very droll." Stuart's arm was missing, just below the elbow. "Don't worry, I won't forget this shit show in a hurry." A slow spiral of blood floated up from the ragged stump, diluted by water. From behind the mask, Miles could see the cabin had taken on a rose-tinted hue. "Due to the circumstances, I'm going to be fairly direct," Stuart said. "I don't want to just, circle the subject. Not like our friend outside, eh?" As if on cue, a huge dark mass drifted past the window, momentarily blocking the weak light. Miles was almost out of air, but he had no intention of venturing beyond the cabin while that creature lurked in the gloom. Stuart followed it with his eyes. "Looks like this is your last chance to come clean. You want to know why I killed these women?" Miles thought for a while. "I think it was because of a novel I was trying to write. Or maybe there wasn't much on TV these nights. In the end, all roads lead to Rome, Stuart. He checked the cylinder gauge, well beyond the caution zone, and he had so much to say. The two men obviously couldn't hear each other, yet communication didn't seem to be a problem. Maybe because of encroaching hypoxia. Maybe because Stuart had died half an hour ago. Nazis! Miles decided a tirade would be fast. Let me tell you about Nazis, Stu. Wore nice uniforms, invaded Poland. What about those former blue-eyed boys? He put on a cut-glass English accent. How could the rotten Jerry persecute those poor homeless Jews? Bad form, filthy Hun. Only Jews aren't poor or homeless anymore, says Facebook. No, now they're controlling America or persecuting poor homeless Palestinians. That's Israelis. There's a distinction. Don't muddy the waters. Miles laughed mercilessly. Every man on the street knows if we all gave an itsy-bitsy, teeny-weeny, yellow polka-dot bit of our wages to the third world, we could wipe out famine. Cheese off our little suburban dicks. Do we do it? I guess not, his companion admitted. Of course not. We've endless excuses. I don't want to be encouraging these people to have more kids, not with a global famine on. They overpopulate their world, and next thing you know, they're over here overpopulating ours. Turn back the fuckers' boats. Let them drown. He gave the instrument console a muffled thump. How do you think this nasty old tub ended up down here? It was already a grave before I discovered the wreck. I just added to it. How efficient of you. Also, a bit simplistic in the analogy department. Don't tell me you people can't see the big picture. You're all sitting high enough up on your white middle-class picket fences. I wasn't going to, Stuart began. But Miles was on a roll. There's always a war going on somewhere, and so you might have to become a Nazi or you'll end up skulking in the ghetto. But you got to be careful, eh? When a soldier fires at an enemy, he's a patriot. By the time the bullet has reached its victim, yet another ceasefire has been declared, and he's a murderer. Ends up on death row, waiting for the state to execute him. The oxygen gave a bleep, and Miles forced himself to calm down. We're allowed to kill, Stuart. I just didn't get the proper permission.
That's awesome, Jem. Well done. That's brilliant.
Thank you.
All right. It seems like everyone's scared, which is fabulous because the stories in this section of the anthology is about monsters. And I love that all three of them are different and attack different elements of that fear factor. It's brilliant. All right, here we go. We have, oh my God, Megan, chills, and poor Carrie, I feel scared. And then Incredible Jen, I'm really glad I'm drinking whiskey while listening to this. It's a whole vibe. I like how your voice changes with the characters. Holy crap, that's amazing. Classic Jen, never a dull moment. Exactly, absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for doing the readings. They were just fantastic. Now, last thing before we leave, I am going to promote the heebie-jeebies out of you both. So, Jen, this is the best place for people to follow on where your books are at, and you have a plethora of them. I highly recommend them, especially if you want some creepy, mind-twisted, fast-paced reads. Jan's the place to go. Are you also on social media at all, Jan?
Yeah, there's almost everything that is under Jan Andrew Henderson.
Fantastic. That makes it nice and easy. And now Megs as well. Let's pimp you out a bit. All right, so there's the best place to find all of your lovely writerly brilliance, my darling. And are you also on all the socials?
I am, and every single one of them has a different tagline. So just if you type in Megan Badger author into Google, it'll bring up a whole bunch, and there's links backwards and forwards. So
excellent, that's fantastic.
Incidentally, here,
yep.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it! There we go.
Yay!
So pretty.
That's our beautiful book. The amazing cover was done by our fellow author Pam, who was on last week.
Yes, and there's illustrations in it as well by
Caitlin, another amazing member of our group, who I'm hoping will be on in the next few weeks. Thank you guys so much, and thanks everyone for listening and for commenting. And one last time, that's where you can go get tribute, show the love to our group, and to be able to read some of the most incredible stories from amazing authors. There is actually, the first story is also a short story of Aiki's herself. So go check it out, and thanks, y'all. Thanks, guys, so much for coming.
Thank you, Neen.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.